All right, welcome to our tech industry alumni panel. Tonight we have some beautiful VCU alumni coming back to talk to us about their careers in technology. And moderating our panel for us tonight is Chase Greco, who has both his bachelor's and master's degree from VCU and works at CoStar. And with that, I'm handing it over to Chase.
Awesome. So thanks everybody for tuning in to the Tech Industry Alumni Panel. As she said, my name's Chase Greco. I work at CoStar Group as a machine learning engineer. And so I'd like to ask each of our alumni panelists to introduce themselves. So Brandon, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Watts. I graduated 2018 with a degree in computer science. I've worked at VCU Health. I've worked at UNOS in Richmond, organ sharing. And I work at CarMax. That's where I currently work. I've worked there for past 3 years. I am a data engineer, so I work mainly in data. I work with the analytics teams as well to coerce and munge data at massive scale, so like exabytes of data. So yeah, that's basically what I do on a day-to-day thing. Another cool fun fact is I'm one of the organizers for the RVA data engineering meetup. So we schedule events and have speakers talk and stuff. But yeah, so that's a little about me.
Awesome. And it is a fun meetup. You all should check it out. Jay, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name's Jay Guan. I graduated in 2018 with a computer science degree as well. During my school time, I interned at GE Healthcare at Wisconsin and also at Capital One at Richmond over here. And since my graduation, I have been working at Microsoft since 2018. And I'm working on backend APIs, event chasing for Windows. It's mostly C++ and the C. They are the APIs that records metrics for diagnosis and the performance reasons.
Great. And last but not least, we have Vishaka.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vishaka, and I graduated from VCU back in 2019, also with a computer science major. I'm currently working at PayPal as a software engineer. My kind of area of focus is I'm a full stack engineer, primarily based working with like JavaScript and React, and kind of the product area that I focus on currently is merchant onboarding and activation. So these are new businesses, small businesses, large businesses that are looking to integrate with PayPal, and they kind of help the onboarding process for that, and then try to get them to get their first transaction once they get into PayPal. So that's the area I'm focusing in. And before PayPal, I previously interned at Dominion Power in Richmond and Capital One, and then also at PayPal I interned. And yeah, I guess a fun fact about me is I really like baking. So I've been doing a lot of that during COVID and quarantine.
Awesome. So the plan for this is we have 6 different topics that we're going to be going through with a couple different questions for each topic. As we're going through, feel free to post any questions you all may have in either the chat or the Q&A feature. I'll be trying to monitor that and read those out as they come in. But with that, our first topic is the type of work. So I think you all kind of already described sort of what your particular sort of role is, but sort of what does a typical work week look like for you all? So sort of how much time are you spending, I guess, in the office virtually now versus time with clients versus sort of times in meetings? What does that balance look like?
I can go first. Yeah, so a lot of what I do is planning work as well as doing it. So you have to plan out, especially with larger projects, what steps you need to take along the way in order to achieve the goal. They're not often outlined for you, especially on big multi-team projects. So a lot of my day-to-day is working closely with partner teams. So we have like product teams that we work closely with, data engineers, data scientists, machine learning engineers. We're all different roles, but we work closely together. So a lot of my day is meetings with them, carting out work, and then of course, doing the work as well. But that's a small portion of actually what you do in enterprise development. A lot of it revolves around communication and project structures and things like that. So yeah, coding is probably like 30 to 40% of what I do during the week, and the rest is facilitating like meetings and lining work up.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a balance. Jay or Vishaka, did you have anything to add? Kind of, do your weeks look similar, like to that kind of balance, or different?
Yeah, I can go next. Well, with my role, I mentioned I'm a full stack engineer, but sometimes I like to say I'm a product engineer, because I feel like, especially when you're working on like customer facing products, it's really important to know why you're developing something, and to be involved in that process. I think that makes my work more impactful, especially for me. So I'd say I pretty much, it depends on where I am in the product journey. So if the product is at its like at the beginning phase, then I will definitely be coding a lot less, and rather I'm focusing more on defining the product along with our product team and our design team. We call it a 3-in-the-box team, so that we have product design and even analytics involved early on to kind of figure out what exactly we're developing and why we're developing it. And then once we kind of have that conceptualized, we then focus on technically defining the architecture and how we're going to build it. And then we get to the development phase. So when we're in the development phase, I probably spend maybe 80% of my time coding, but at different points in the product development cycle, it will be definitely varied. And especially early on, it will be more potentially like product research on how to build it technically. So that's not necessarily going to be coding, but still it will be technical in nature. And then also it's equally as important the end of the life cycle with releasing and deploying the code to production, and then also monitoring and keeping and analyzing the code as well. So it's a full cycle, but it's great to see something go from inference to like actually see results and lifts that you were expecting to see. And then meetings. I would say we also work in like an agile environment, so we have our typical like stand-ups every morning, sprint planning, retros, and demos at a bi-weekly basis. And then there is I think it's more of like an open collaboration culture. So if I need to talk to someone else or another engineer on my team, we'll like Slack, and if Slack isn't really working, we'll get on a quick call and kind of solve that. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll go ahead and add a few more things. So I totally agree with it. Varies depends on the product cycle. In the beginning, you may be defining a feature and why is that a problem and why you need to do X, Y, Z things. So for me, in the beginning of a project, most of my time will be spent on talking to the customer and the manager on how to solve the problem, what would be the correct way to solve the problem. And our team owns multiple products. So for like a new member like me who only joined for like a year or two, you need to really know the product first. So I spent a good amount of time in the beginning of the project to understand like what my product is actually doing before I add more feature into it. So in the beginning of the phase, it's more about learning my own product and then talking to the users need to figure out why they need that. And then it rolls back to like internal team discussions to see how we can design a better solution for the customers. And we meet twice a week. One thing that is kind of related to this is that Microsoft's, they used to have single offices for each developer. Now they have like 2 or 3 people per office, but they tend to make the people who's in the same team to have offices closer to each other. So you will be in the same building. So you just kind of walk up and then knock at people's doors if you have any questions.
Awesome. So let's see. So the next topic we have is work life and culture, which I think is something really important and can differ a lot between different companies. So obviously specific industries can kind of have specific expectations. So kind of what are the expectations that you all have experienced at your companies sort of what's the intensity of work and kind of what is that balance between, work and life?
I can start this time. So I think PayPal, like as a company, definitely really values like work-life balance, and I think it's work-life balance really means different things to different people. I am a recent college grad; it's different for me versus some of my coworkers that have children, and especially in this remote environment, it's immensely harder for everyone for different reasons. People with kids have to give lunch to their kids, educate their kids while they're working. So it's really different. But PayPal definitely emphasizes work-life balance. One thing that I really liked throughout the pandemic that PayPal did was we are getting about every like 6 weeks or so, we're getting wellness days. So it's like so it'll be like a Friday, we have the entire day off, and it's just to focus on mental health, wellness, not be sitting in front of a computer all day long, and you can go out and do whatever. So I think that really speaks to what PayPal stands for. In terms of like expectations, I think even like in the pandemic and before the pandemic, it's very much relaxed in terms of like I would describe like the work culture. We would our stand-ups would start at 10:30. I would usually show up to work at 10:30, and then you kind of work as long as you need to, and like, as long as you get your work done. That's really like the main like expectation is as long as you're doing your work, it's more flexible. If you had to like work remotely sometime before the pandemic, it was okay, and I think that's something that'd be more acceptable going forward. And in terms of like the intensity of work and the hours, I think it really depended for me. Number of hours, I sometimes tend to overwork work myself, not in pressure of like anyone else. So it's definitely you can put in as many hours as you want, but if they would see people working, like if we see someone on our team working over the weekend or working really late hours, we're gonna like be like, you should just we'll call them out and tell them like stop working. Yeah, but I think, but I interned at PayPal as well, and what I really liked about the culture that I noticed then was it was a very friendly environment, and especially my team. Everyone on my team was pretty young. It was like around 30s and under 30s, so it was a really fun environment. I have a lot of friends in my team, and I would before the pandemic like go on hikes with them, and and have that friendship outside of work as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say that same for me, coming from like the type of company I am. It's a very laid back type of company. The expectation is to not work over 40 hours. I mean, sometimes you do, like especially when you're on call. Like sometimes you get draw the short straw and you're on call and everything breaks, and those weeks will happen, and you'll have to put 100 hours in. But those are far and few between. Most of the time, you're working 40 hours, or I find myself working 40 hours a week, and anything over is usually done by my choice, not my manager telling me I have to get something done. My manager actually will tell me to de-scope some work if it's going to take me over that 40 hours. So it's often I'm taking on too much work. I've signed myself up for too much, but the expectation is definitely for longevity in enterprise development. Like in school, you can get stuff done really quickly and stay up and drink Red Bulls and all that, but you can't do that every single day for your entire life. So it's more about longevity than getting it done as quick as possible.
Wise words, not staying up and drinking Red Bull all the time. Jay, did you have anything to add?
Well, I totally agree with both of what they said. To me, I work most of the times 40 hours is like usual, and like they said, sometimes you do have to work extra to catch up the process, but most of the times 40 hours is normal. And I see it varies differently in different orgs. Like I know Azure people who works on like online stuff in the cloud, sometimes they have to be on calls and then they work more hours than like I'm in the Windows org, which is like chiller, and I have like less on calls. So sometimes it varies on the org or the team. or I think the manager actually plays a big role. I'm fortunate to have a manager who really understands things. In my first year of starting working, I had this sinus infection thing where I keep getting constant headaches. So I had to take a couple of sick leaves, and I even went through a whole week off for a surgery. And he's very like understanding and forgiving. And sometimes like I come back too quickly, and he's like, are you sure you're okay? You don't have to take extra days. So that's pretty nice.
Great.
Hey, Chase, can I ask a question about culture and work life? I'm curious.
By all means.
Thank you. Thank you. So all of you work for companies that are well regarded, right? So you got PayPal, CarMax, CoStar, Microsoft. Do you find that the caliber of your workmates is very high? And does that add to your job satisfaction? You know, compare it to like you're in college and you get assigned to a group and you might be working with someone who doesn't have your work ethic or doesn't have a grasp on the coding. So what's it like to work where you are now based on the teams that you get to work with?
I think that's a great question. I definitely, I think the best part of working is the people you work with. I think, or at least one of the best parts. And I absolutely love like my team, and I learn a lot from them. And I think having everyone that's equally as driven and like focused on the same goals, that really helps your own motivation. And because it's like you mentioned, a group project. If there is one person on the team that isn't doing anything, it affects you, and you like obviously like don't want to do as much work. So yeah, I think it's great to have that level of I guess like caliber around as well, and it really it makes you grow as an engineer and as a person as well.
Yeah, like you know, surround yourself with really smart people. That's the best like advice I could give, because you'll learn a lot, especially people with different backgrounds than you. Like my team is not. I don't have. We have a pretty young team, but we also have some people that's been around the block a few times as well. And you know, oftentimes in like code reviews or architecture reviews and things like that, you know, they'll chime in with something about an experience they have that really makes you think about things differently. So yeah, like teamwork is really paramount to writing good software, because you don't know what you don't know is really the what you get at. So
I guess I will talk about both pros and the cons, just to bring up another perspective. For me, people in my team, I'm the newest person in my team. So people in my team, one of them worked here for like 15, 20 years. Another one worked for like 30 years. And there are people who's newer, like being here like 5 to 7 years. So I do feel the pressure of like, okay, they know so much, and then like I'm here for like 2 or 3 years. I feel like I'm still far away from them. So sometimes I do get that imposter syndrome where you feel like, oh crap, I guess I'm not qualified for the work. But the pressure also drives you. The good thing is that on one side, because they are giving you the pressure and because they know so much, you get more motivated, and at same side, you get more best practices from the people who are more experienced. So you don't do one thing that works. You may get like 5 different solutions from people in your team, so that you have like different things to choose from and different things to consider. And I guess the cons is that because my team is a little bit old, it's not like compared to school projects where you have total control of the entire project. You know exactly what you're doing. And my products are like 20 years old, and then I have to go back and look at the history. And I may be imagining myself making a rocket, but sometimes you just have to make those little screwdrivers so that everybody can assemble everything together to make a rocket.
Thank you. Well said.
Yeah, my first manager at CoStar had this phrase. It's like drinking from a fire hose, right? And I think that's something that kind of we all can relate to. But you want to be that sponge, right, and kind of absorb as much knowledge as you can. Awesome. So next topic, or do we have any other questions? Nope. So next topic is industry. So hopefully you have a good answer for this, but would you recommend this field of work to others? And is it growing? Are there opportunities? And sort of what does the future look like?
I can go. So I think probably most of you on the call have like been taken up in this big machine learning like hype that's been on for the last few years. But what I wanted to add is like around that machine learning and data science, there's a lot of support roles, like a lot of roles that exist to that allow you to get your hands in that field, but don't like kind of exist side by side. So data engineering is one of those roles where you're like preparing and creating data sets. And it's arguably like more important than the machine learning itself, because if you have bad data going in, you're going to have bad models. So this field, because machine learning is growing so quickly, data engineering is also growing at the same rate. And we honestly can't hire enough data engineers at my company. And I being part of the meetup group, it's a route like that for every company. So data engineering is a fast growing field because it's riding on the back of a lot of things like machine learning. So
yeah, as an ML engineer, I can confirm data engineering is super important, and a good data engineer is worth its weight in gold. So definitely.
I'll go ahead and talk in respect to the area of operating system. It's definitely growing. Like the new VR and the IoT things keep coming out in the recent years because of the hardware and the software accelerations in the past years. It's definitely growing, but it's not a field that is for everyone. I would say the thing that I can relate to while you're in school is that if you like operating system and maybe computer organization classes, you might be interested in this kind of fields. A field where you have to have deeper understanding of how computer and the operating system works. You need to be driven. You need to be the person who wants to figure out how everything works in detail, instead of is how to make it work. But why did it work in the first place? Because performance is a key when you are writing in low system designs. And also, I think it's for the type of person who really want to dig into the details. So if you want to like something that is like easier to get into, I think for me, I feel like the lower level operating system stuff is probably something that can take you years to know the ins and outs of different things. And finally, you can connect the dots and you become an expert. To me, I feel like I've been working here for almost 3 years, and I feel like I haven't really seen the entire picture yet.
Yep. And then so I'm basically like a full stack like software engineer, and there's many different I guess like paths of a software engineer. It could be iOS development, Android development, it could be full stack JavaScript, and so many other different languages. But I think the benefit of being a software engineer is you can apply to so many different industries in itself. So I really enjoy the fintech industry, but there's so many untouched industries out there, like the medical industry, healthcare, and just like pretty much any industry that you look at could benefit from software engineers. So I think we're not going away anytime soon, and we are the future. So I think going into software development is definitely still it's still growing, and there's a lot of opportunities. And I remember back to when I was like a freshman, I attended one of Ms. Lemza's career seminars, and she used to show this like chart of engineers graduating to jobs available in the market. And there's some crazy stat, but like for like software engineers and computer science majors, it was like 100 times more or 10 times more number of jobs available than like graduates. But yeah, so I think that's still true. And I think the line of work in the future is going to be interesting because especially with the pandemic, the acceleration to online has increased a lot. Within PayPal itself, we have seen like the amount of payments that we're processing online, the shift from in-store to online, and commerce has really shifted through the pandemic, and it's accelerated. I feel like I like to say the pandemic is a catalyst, basically, for a shift that was going at like a steady incline, but I think now it's like definitely increased a lot. So yeah, I think we're at an interesting time, and even in terms of work, I think it's interesting because a lot of companies are now some are going fully remote. So it'll be interesting to see like how that affects like the global talent pool, because I feel like a company anywhere can hire an engineer from anywhere in the country. So that's I think that's something that will be interesting to see how that affects our industry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it makes you
definitely.
wonder. So it makes you wonder if there's going to be a big effect on the real estate market, right? I mean,
no comment. But yes, it will be interesting to see how that affects things. Awesome, but yeah, no, it's good to see. I think everybody would agree this field is definitely still growing. If anything, it's growing at a much faster rate than it was previously, and there's plenty of opportunities. And as I think we've seen, there's so many different diverse opportunities as well, even within this field, different areas that you can specialize in. So awesome. All right, so I guess this is a kind of a related question. So looking back, would you still choose sort of the path that you took to get to where you are now? And what do you kind of dislike about you know, where you've ended up, or like about where you've ended up?
I can go. So let's see. Where I choose this path again. Yeah, I think data engineering is a like emerging field. Like I said, I think it come out of like machine learning. A lot of the older type of roles would be more like a DBA or that type of thing. Is kind of getting phased out. So one of the things I dislike about data engineering is there's a lot of, and it's also an interesting challenge. There's a lot of legacy. In any type of like enterprise role, you're going to have a lot of legacy code and code bases. And it's an interesting time right now where the legacy code bases are getting really stretched thin because the data is so large. So it's really putting a pressure on a lot of companies to migrate to these newer technologies. And that migration is very slow and very painful and not fun. When you get there, it's very fun. But migrating from one tech stack to another or upgrading a bunch of software in your enterprise is not the most fun thing in the world. But I think that the future is very bright for this field. So that's definitely one thing that I would caution is you're definitely going to run into legacy code and code bases. So.
Yep. So I think we're like, would you choose this path again? I definitely think so. I think back when I joined VCU as a freshman, I joined computer science. Really did not know what I was really getting into. It never coded before. So I really started from like the beginning as a freshman, and I think what really kind of helped me like choose this path and like helped me along the way through college was like doing internships and even like trying out a bit of research. And I think that really helped me choose the right path for me. I tried researching freshman year and I liked it while I was like technical, but once I started to read a bunch of research papers, I was like, this is not for me. And I stopped there. And then I did a couple of different internships. My first internship at Dominion was more of an IT role, and it wasn't really like as technical, and I realized that I didn't enjoy that. And then I learned a lot through my Capital One internship, and that was when I really started to realize that like the software engineer like product focused kind of path was like what I enjoyed. So I think it's helpful to like try to get as many opportunities as you can throughout undergraduate and master's to like really see what's the right path for you, and then go from there.
I totally agree that internships are good ways to try out different industries to see if you like it or not. And I also really like somebody said that life is a journey, not a marathon. So you may think that you really like one field and then you want to stick into that field for X years and then become the expert so that you are leading in that field. But it's kind of hard to know what you really like. Internship is one way to try it out, but also don't be afraid to try out different jobs even after your first job, because maybe in your 20s, you like to work on this field, and in your 30s, you might switch to another field. Or maybe after you get a family, you don't want to hustle so much anymore. You want to switch to an easier job. So it's kind of know ahead of time of what you will like 5 or 10 years from now. I would say just really try what you do. And if you have any concerns, don't be afraid to bring up to like your manager to discuss with your manager, because he's really supposed to be there to support you to be in the right projection.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Jay said. I've seen like throughout my time as well. Once like you're in the job and you want to, there's so many different paths. Even once you become an engineer, you can go into management. You can go even deeper into as an individual contributor. You can switch to product. You can switch to a different type of engineer if you're interested in like I'm a software engineer, but if you're interested in data science and machine learning, every company is going to have those opportunities available. There's not going to be a single company without a data engineer, software engineer, or machine learning engineer in the future. So it's definitely there's a lot of opportunities available to kind of figure out what's right for you. And I think the one thing is like you never stop learning, so and growing. So as long as you're curious and want to learn about something, it's going to be available. And with the tech field, things just grow at such a fast pace. In the next 5-10 years, there might be some other like type of engineer as well available. So there's just a lot of opportunities as we keep on going through life.
Yep, definitely. I can definitely echo the you never stop learning sentiment. I think that's true, regardless of whatever position you're in. There's always more things to learn. Cool. All right. Oh, here we have a question. So, do you ever have moments where you feel like you're in over your head? And if so, how do you handle these moments? I can certainly say I felt like that. I'm sure other people on this call have.
Yeah, 100%. There's times when you feel like you're in over your head. There's times when you release like huge major production bugs and you're like trying to slam your head and you're like, what, like, how did this happen? So there's definitely those times. And I think like the best way to kind of handle those is like to take it step by step. And if it's like a huge bug, I like go back to the root cause and try to like analyze everything one step at a time. I think that's where teammates really come in. I think there really shouldn't be a time, say you're stuck on trying to figure out something, there really shouldn't be a time you spend more than like, I would say like a couple hours by yourself figuring something out, because that's what your team is there for. Especially I think in the beginning, you sometimes you feel like you might be asking a stupid question, or someone's not going to think as highly of you if you ask them something. But everyone's been in the same spot, or everyone's also understands. So it's best to ask someone the question, and like 10 out of like 5 out of 10 times, like, you know, it might be that someone also doesn't really know, but they'll help you figure it out together. So I think that's the beauty of having like teammates, and just being vulnerable and open to, like, you know, collaborate, because like they'll help you at the end. And it's also the team who's trying to accomplish something, right? It's not just, it's, even though engineering is pretty individual, there's also like the teams that's responsible for delivering something. So it's the team's job to get it done. So yep.
Yeah, I would say that like agree with that as well. I think something interesting to note is like a lot of people's in over their head. Like it doesn't matter your role or position at the company. like everyone has times where they don't know the answer to something, or it's the first time doing that thing. I've talked with lead devs and architects and things like that, and yeah, and they struggle at the same time too. Like we're all kind of in the same boat. We're all trying to figure it out as we go. I think one thing to like really remember is like to not get like when I first come in, I was like reluctant to ask for help. Like I thought that like, hey, I should know this. I need to go like study it, and I there's no reason I shouldn't know this. And so I would find myself like spending a lot of time like at night and stuff trying to learn things to have all the answers. But if I would have just asked someone for help, they could have like pointed me right to the answer. So like you definitely utilize the people on your team, and remember that like everyone's like kind of been there.
Totally agree. And I think I have been in both of the coins. On one side, when I first joined, I was kind of afraid to ask questions, and my manager opened me up a little bit more. So I started asking more questions than I probably should have. And then just like, maybe you should do some of your own researches first. So sometimes you got to be the person who's like figuring out the right balance. And then sometimes it depends on your team too. What I would say is that don't be afraid to ask questions, but at the same time, when you knock at somebody's door, you ask one question, be sure that at least you did your own basic researches, and you come maybe one of the solutions that is already proposed. Okay, I look at this question and I thought about X, Y, Z, and what I think is we should do C. And then they may be like, okay, your plan is good in this perspective, but probably need to switch to that perspective to update X, Y, Z. And you may get some of that, but at least they know that you tried, and you are not just like, okay, I look at the project, I don't know what to do, and you just want somebody to take baby steps on you. So show that you've done your research, and also communicate with your manager or your team to see, okay, how am I doing? Am I asking too many or too little questions? Should I speed up by asking more questions, or should I slow down and do my own researches?
Yeah, I think definitely, as you said, having that due diligence ahead of time is important, but not spending too long, like days trying to figure it out on your own.
Right.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we have another question that leads right into our next topic, which is sort of getting started in the industry. So sort of what was sort of the process of landing your first job? Sort of what did it take for you all to get into your line of work? Was there anything that was particularly helpful that you did along the way? I think we've already talked a little bit about internships, but were there any kind of like certifications or like online courses or anything that you all might recommend people check out to land their job?
Yeah, so my internship search was very stressful, to be honest. Like I applied to probably 50 internships and got like I got some return offers, like second type of interview, but really like only 3 or 4 final offers. And it was rewarding at the same time, because the more you interview, the better you get at it. So I was very nervous at first, but by your 50th interview, you're pretty got pretty under wraps. So can you talk about process of landing your first job? Okay, so yeah, my experience with internships, some of them are different than others going into it. Like I had 2 internships, and they were vastly different from each other. The first internship, I was doing like Visual Basic and like JavaScript and things like that, and the other one I was in a completely different tech stack. But I think if you can do multiple internships like junior and senior year and things like that, take advantage of it, because the more like varied experiences you have, the more you know what you don't want to do. Like I don't want to do Visual Basic, so that was something I learned in one of my internships. So and then let me make sure I'm landing your first job. Yeah, so my first job come from one of my internships. So often that's the reason the companies are hosting internships, is to, if you perform well enough, to give you a return offer. So a lot of people take it, and that's how I landed my first job.
Yep. So I think kind of similar as well for me. I also landed my first job from my internship. So I guess I'll talk more about my like junior year like internship search. So by junior year, I had a couple of internships at Capital One. It was the Capital One Studio program. I believe that's still there at VCU. And I think one of the great things about Richmond is that there are so many companies and great companies within Richmond they know VCU students are right there and they're willing to do internships throughout the year in the summer. So there's a lot of opportunities to gain that experience. And like Brandon mentioned, it's great to get different experiences in different tech stacks to kind of really see what you like. So I think that's one of a great thing about VCU. So based off the internships, I kind of knew I wanted to get an internship on the West Coast and just really see what that experience was like. So I think junior year, I applied to maybe like 100. I didn't really have any connections to the West Coast. So I think one of the best ways is through referrals, but I didn't really have many connections in that way. So I think I applied on LinkedIn jobs. I applied to maybe like 100, 150 jobs. And I was just, I got a couple of interviews and then PayPal was the first one that clicked, and I was like, I'm gonna take it. So I think it's a really intense and tough process. I think I was definitely like underprepared going into it slightly. I think, so what I did was I took the engineering class 401, data structures and algorithms. I took that sophomore year, second semester. And when I took it, I didn't realize how important that course was for internships. So I did well in the class and I paid attention, but not as much as I like should have, because I didn't realize how important that would be for the internships and for technical interviews. So definitely when you take 401, pay a lot of attention to data structures, algorithms. That's the core of what interviews are. And definitely start prepping early, prepping in the summer for technical interviews, and do a lot of lead code. So that's kind of what really helps like with getting the interviews and really knocking the interviews. So I didn't know that at that time, but I was like thankful to have landed this internship. And then I think from this internship, I was able to get the return offer. And other things to like kind of getting started in the industry is attending conferences. So my senior year, I attended Grace Hopper, which is like the Women in Tech conference. And through that, I also got a couple of other interviews and offers. So I think conferences are a great way. I think there's a couple of other conferences like NESB as well. And I don't remember all of them from the top of my head, but yeah, attending conferences is a great way. I'm sure there's virtual conferences now. So attending those, and companies are really there to like recruit and hire for internships and full-time positions. So that can definitely help you get your foot in the door. And in terms of like certifications or anything of that sort, I didn't really particularly do any certifications, but I think it's just, I know people do like AWS certifications and etc. But I think if there's something that you particularly want, like a particular specialization you want to go into, then definitely like there are certifications out there that you can do.
Cool. So, well, I guess I don't have too much to talk about internships now since we talked so much. And I do want to add in terms of conferences. So a little explanations. Grace Hopper is a women's conference, but also if you are a man, you can still attend. And I went to Grace Hopper in my junior year. That was pretty fun. And there's another one called SHAP, SHPE, for Hispanics. But technically, they welcome everyone. So I went. I went to, so they welcome everyone, and it was a great experience for me. I didn't know anything about conferences until my junior year, and at first I'm like, have to take a couple of days off school to fly to somewhere else and then pay for the conference ticket. Is it really worth it? But after I got my internships, it's really worth it. Imagine like how much more money you could have earned. Depends on the differences of the jobs, and also depends on how many opportunities you can get through interviews. As Brandon said earlier, I also applied for many positions when I was in school, and unfortunately I didn't get too many interviews. But the conference is really really open up to like how many companies or the big ones attend the conferences, and they are willing to give you interviews even on site. You can literally get an interview during a conference 2 or 3 days. And I got my Microsoft offer. Oh, I didn't apply through the conference, but to be in the conference, so I was able to go there, take the interview, and then 2 hours later they told me I got the offer. So you don't have to wait for like a month or 2 months and then see, oh crap, did I get the offer? I think I screwed up the interview, and then you started going crazy. So that's the beauty of a conference as well. And aside from that, I think a good way to prep is if you didn't do as many internships as you want, a side project, or if you go to professors, they may have research positions open, or some of the companies are looking for volunteers. You may be able to do it for free just to get the experience you want, so that you can land your next dream job.
So to that point, I'm also just curious, I get asked from a lot of students, how do I get started? So I heard all of you talk about landing your final job and very elite companies and the hard work that was. But I also know, at least for a couple of you, that your process through internships was kind of, each one built on the other, and you started small and kept growing. Could you speak to that a little bit? Because we have so many students who are overwhelmed with getting started. How do you get started if all you've done is gone to class?
Yeah, I can start with this one. So I think so. I think I knew early on, like freshman year, that I wanted to really focus, get into like the industry. I know starting off, there's multiple paths. You can go and do your master's after college. You can go in the industry, but I think early on I knew I wanted the job after graduation. So I started. I think the first thing I really started doing was I went to a lot of the career events. Freshman year, I didn't really have anything else to do, so I went to a lot of the career events, and then I learned about what clubs were available in the computer science department. So I went to the cybersecurity club, and then I started attending a couple of those. And I think what was great was it was really funny. So I applied to the Dominion internship, and the manager I had applied under, he ended up being a speaker for the cybersecurity club that I was at, and he realized that I was there as well, so he wanted to talk. So it was before my interview. I already met. I think actually I met someone else from, on the same team. So I think it's just great way to like kind of get involved is like through the clubs in the department as well. And there's a lot of amazing clubs, and you start building your skills that way as well. And then that you can also leverage when you're applying to internships, if that's what you're doing, or applying to research. So I think it's really starting small, and each building block kind of helps you, as Ms. Linsa mentioned, like helps you get the next opportunity. Yeah. Brandon, I think you're on mute.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to say similar to that as well is one reason I think I failed my junior year so much was that I was trying to apply to, I had it in my mind that I had to like work at like a FANG company or something, or had to get an internship there. So like I was Googling like all these top companies, and you try to land the internships that like pay the most and things like that. But what I didn't realize at the time was there's a lot of local companies and a lot of smaller companies that you can get a really good internship experience from, and really help build your career. And it may not be, the Google or whatever, but those companies house some really smart engineers, and you can learn a lot. And so definitely look locally as well, and look at smaller companies for sure, because they really like to have interns as well. I think like you have more success. So I got more callbacks from local smaller companies, obviously. So yeah, that's definitely one thing I would advise.
For me, I'm gonna break this topic down into different stages. So the first quick overview, the first stage I would think is to find which companies or like areas you like to spend your time in, such as full stack or back end or front end. Find out what interests you, and then really start to do side projects, show your passion, show your interest. Because early on, when you don't really have any experience or internship, it's kind of hard to convince the manager. I have people that have the same GPA, why should I hire you instead of the other person? But if you took, say, extra class that is not required by the school, oh, I'm interested in full stack, so I took some kind of online class, or I took this certification, I built this website. So that's some kind of something that's like a plus, compare you with the other students, so that it's easier for them to make the hiring decision. That catches their eyes. And another thing to add is really take every single opportunity you can get. I recall in my freshman year, I was going out to career events, I was going to conferences, I was going to, there are company visits as well. So the company comes in and in the career websites, when I was in school, VCU was sending out emails saying XYZ company is getting students to visit their company. You go there, talk to the manager. And even one of the managers actually are interested in hiring one position. And I wasn't interested in the position, but the manager was like, hey, if you know any friends, let them know. So I sent the manager's contact to one of my friends who's interested, and he got the job. So networking is a huge part of the getting started part of a student. So at first I didn't know anybody. It was kind of hard to get interviews. You can apply through the company's website, you go to the conferences, and I go to like LinkedIn, I go to Indeed, I go to every single website I can. I put my resume all over the place, and also talk to different people. I recall that I got my first position as actually at a computer shop through Miss Lanza, because she knew that I was looking for jobs all over the place. And I even went through those volunteer positions, and I didn't get any offers in my first freshman year. I think it was spring after the career fair. And Miss Lanza knew that I was still looking. So around May, there was one company that is looking for students, and she asked me if I was interested, and I got that position, even though it's not a programming position. But having that internship really adds the check mark, because a lot of the companies basically have a check mark saying, oh, I need to hire somebody who already had an internship. Sometimes they don't even care what your internship was. Even though it's not programming related, GE was like, yeah, you had an internship, check. And then they gave me the interview that I didn't think I would have gotten.
Yeah, all really good pieces of advice. The other thing I'll mention, I'm surprised none of you mentioned this, is hackathons are another excellent way
I forgot.
to get experience. And I happen to know that VCU has a pretty good hackathon, Ram Hacks, that I'm sure a lot of the people on this call, their companies recruit at. So I certainly know CoStar does. So I think that's also an excellent way to get started and break into the field. So
Right.
awesome. All right, I know we're coming up on time, so real quick. So final question. So when did you realize you wanted to specialize in your field? And do you have any sort of parting advice that you would give a student at trying to enter the field that you specialized in?
Yeah, I can go. So basically, how did I realize what I wanted to specialize? So I took Bridget McKinnick's class, the NLP class, and I really enjoyed it. And it kind of led me down the rabbit hole of machine learning and wanting to do machine learning. I took my return offer for my internship, and I told my manager at the time, like, I was really interested in machine learning, and was there any opportunities? And like Vishaka said, like, most companies you work at will have these opportunities that pop up. So I kind of, things fell together, and I went into that field. And so I really enjoyed the field, and I wanted to specialize in it. Specialize is a weird word, because I often find myself like moving between different specialties a lot, but kind of finding whatever I'm interested in, like Jay said. And parting advice, I would just say like breathe, like that's a, because like don't, I know a lot of times I would get these rejection emails, and I would get like really down and depressed. But there's a lot of opportunities out there for the type of work we do. So there will be the next one. Like just take it on the shoulder and move on. And then the second one is like you can work your way into a position that you want, even if you don't have the skills right now for it. So if you want to be a lead data engineer or a lead data scientist or whatever, like, start out small and work your way and slowly build these skills over time. And you may not land that job right out of school, but in 5-10 years, you're where you want to be anyways. So I definitely think that, like, don't put a ton of stress on yourselves trying to land that perfect position right out of college.
I'll go next. Sorry, I forgot the first half of the question.
Oh, when did you realize what you wanted to specialize in? And then any parting advice?
I think I kind of realized in the middle of my internships between Capital One and PayPal, that's what I really liked. I was definitely like taking different courses throughout VCU. I was slightly interested in like, as Brennan mentioned, I love Richard McKenna's like NLP class. I loved Dr. Kano's like database class as well. So there's definitely other areas that also interested me, but I think I think maybe like down the road I might be more interested in like exploring those. But I think starting off, I liked my PayPal internship and what the company and the team was offering. So I went with starting off as like a software engineer, and at that a more product focused software engineer. So I think at this time. I really liked where I was, but I think there's definitely opportunities for me if I like do decide if I want to like switch into more of like a data role to take that opportunity. So I think like don't be scared with where I think we mentioned this a little bit, but like whatever you start, your first job out of college isn't going to be like your last. There is so many opportunities to like keep on switching within different companies, within like the jobs that you're doing. And if you think about it, we're only like 20, you're like in your early 20s, in your 20s when you graduate college, you have so much time afterwards to really figure out what's right for you. And there's like a lot of different opportunities as well. There's startups, there's just a lot out there to explore. And then I think my parting advice would be, I think what Brandon said was great. Like it is scary and intimidating, and it gets really stressful, and it gets really tough, especially during the internship hunt and job hunt process. During internship, you're thinking like, my full-time job is dependent on what internship I get, and then when you're searching for a job, you're like, my entire life is dependent on what job I get after college. So yeah, definitely take a breather and like take a step back if you need to, and then really like start small and take it step by step, and look at all the opportunities around you. Visit Ms. Lamza. Ms. Lamza has helped me a lot throughout all of my undergrad career, and really take advantage of the network. And then my other advice would be, reach out to other alumni in the industry as well. I've definitely networked with many of the folks, VCU graduates, through LinkedIn is an easy way. You can always ask Ms. Lamza, and she'll have like great connections for you too, to see like, just find someone that's doing what you're doing, and they can definitely like give you some more advice on how to get started. Yep.
Sounds great. I totally agree that networking is definitely a great way of figuring out what you want to do. Trying out yourself is one way, but if you didn't have enough time to try out all these different kind of internships and positions, you can always talk to your friend who already had a job or internship in this area and ask them what's your day like in the position, and then what do you like or not like about it, just like what we did during the panel discussion over here. And to me, I feel like I haven't really found my perfect fit yet. And I think that's okay. Like I said earlier, people switch interests during the different life stages. And I see people switching teams after a year or 2 years, and some of them even switch companies. Talking to people really helps. I spend good amount of time having coffee chats and lunch chats with people from different teams to understand what they are doing and whether or not it's interesting to me. And then I'll spend my time doing side project to see, okay, is this kind of work something I want to do for full time? And while you are doing it, you gradually know, okay, I like this, I hate that. I definitely don't want to be in this field, or I definitely want to be in that field. It really changes over time, and it really depends on what you want to do. But time will tell you what you want. Your heart will tell you what you want. So just kind of trial and error, and don't let yourself down. Getting a rejection order doesn't really mean anything, because I get like 90% of my email replies were rejecting letters in my freshman and sophomore year. You just don't compare yourself to somebody else saying, okay, I didn't get an internship. That guy already got an internship, and I feel like I'm better than him. And then you feel bad. Don't do something like that. You should compare yourself to your past self. Compare yourself, okay, last year you did X, now you know ABC more than last year. And you feel like you're improving compared to your past self. That's what's important. And having a roadmap is also important. As Brendan said, take baby steps. Do your research, and you know how to get to there. And then you just take one step at a time, and you can see yourself reaching there gradually.
Awesome. So I think with that, we're towards the end of this, right? So thank you all for joining, and thanks to our panelists for sitting in on this. I think this was a very productive and useful discussion. And thank you to Ms. Lemza and VCU Career Services for organizing this whole event.
Thanks everybody. It was great to have you here. We really